Hey everybody, welcome to the morning market briefing. You're interrupting a very professional conversation, but it is 8:30 and super producer Hicks says it's time to go. We got to get to all kinds of stuff, starting with international affairs, continue to dominate the headlines, and some tough times for Broadcom, which we will discuss at length. Opening up with Iran, it seems like old Bibi not necessarily doing us any favors here.
No, I think that's what hurt the markets yesterday. Bonds were selling off, oil was up, stocks sold off. It's kind of the same playbook. There was a pre-recorded message. We talked about it on the call yesterday about potentially having a blockade until Labor Day, but that was really taken out of context. Iran yesterday afternoon said that there's no progress in talks. The foreign minister said that there's no tangible progress that's been achieved in the negotiation process. And yet, Trump yesterday in briefings in the Oval Office at a executive order signing said that they're making good progress and could have something signed this weekend. And as soon as that's done, the Strait will be opened up. He is seeing like he's making some concessions. He says he would like Lebanon and Israel to be a separate thing, but he kind of indicated that, you know what, if I'm pushed, I'll give on that. That's a piece of leverage that I'm willing to concede, and the same with the nuclear dust. He said, yeah, we can go in with the Iranians and get the dust, but we kind of blew it up all anyway. So
it's continued mixed signaling on not so much what the objectives are. I would say those aren't mixed signals. Those were more like transition to signals. Hey, we're going to do this. Now we'll settle for that. But I feel like we're continuing to get mixed signals on the actual results of what has been done. And I think that's where there was some interesting polling that came out yesterday. I actually think American support for what's going on with Iran is a little bit higher than I would have thought, given the byproducts of all this underlying data. But those numbers are dwindling, but they're still higher than I would have thought. And ultimately, I think the reason they're dwindling so much is the mixed signals and the lack of, like, we don't really know what's going on. What is the off-ramp? What is next?
Where would you, this is an interesting question. Obviously, take away the people who did not vote for Trump initially, but among Trump voters, where would you say the support for the war is? If you had to set a line on it, like an over-under line.
Like as a percentage?
Yeah. Of Trump voters?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably close. So, well, this is very biased, but there was some polling that came out. They discussed it on two-way yesterday, that the reading, and I might be slightly off, I was listening to it yesterday, but the overall sense of like we're doing something that matters is 62%.
I mean, I think
and that falls heavily on party lines, as you would imagine, but that would impute to me that of Trump voters, it's got to be closer to 75, 80, because you're not getting many voters from the other side. The biggest thing that was a major takeaway to me, and I don't think this is a surprise, but we hear a lot about dwindling American support for Israel. That's certainly top of mind. I mean, it is shaping the candidates in every primary who has the best, most defensible, most palatable stance on Israel. The approval rating, the net positivity rating on Iran is 10. Like 10% are like, we sympathize and are in favor of that, whereas Israel is like 50 points higher.
I mean...
And so I think that is driving a lot of the, whether it's an informed opinion or not, and I'm not suggesting that it is, but if there's something that only 1 in 10 people like, an attack on that thing's probably going to naturally have some floor of support that is higher than 1 in 10.
I mean, there's certainly an argument to be made that what would the polling be on, do you like this or not, the death to America chance?
Right.
You know? I mean, I think at the end of the day...
That's how you get to 10% approval from a country that has shown exorbitant compassion towards other countries.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where we compare ourselves to a perfect standard that doesn't exist. If Iran had nuclear weapons, we'd all be dead.
So some of the polling that was the most interesting on that,
and we do have nuclear weapons, and only some of them are dead.
It was the polling was really fascinating because there was above 50% support for the air raids in Iran. things that have been going on. There was above 60% think that, yes, we've destroyed Iran's nuclear capabilities. That's one polling issue. Yes, we think they were breaking the rules on that. Again, this is polling. This is not facts. I'm not making a claim. Yes, we think they were cheating on those rules. And yes, we think they're actively or going to rebuild. So that's how you get support for this initiative, as long as you keep that nuclear component top of mind in some way, whether it's about the dust or about this, that, or the other. If the American people do think they were breaking the rules and they're going to rebuild and we don't trust them, as long as those three factors are above 60%, that's going to, I think, pretty closely mirror the percentage of people that are in favor, quote unquote, of the war. And it wasn't, do you like the war? It was just, do you get why we're doing it?
And I think the market implication of that is that this can persist politically for a longer period of time, because the people who are making decisions based off of this and how it does impact the midterms, if they're not seeing the real,
and this is the
fire burning in the midterms, they're not gonna.
The most eye-opening thing in the polling, and I should have done more prep work, but the most eye-opening thing on the polling to me is simply that if there's that many people, even as the war's been kind of shot down, no pun intended, but decried for certainly the last month. I think early on there was probably more support, but certainly the last month, 6 weeks, even as the war has been pushed as something that's very unpopular, we're still over 50% that think, hey, we just really don't trust this, and the key component is the nuclear component. That makes a deal, in my opinion, arguably the least palatable political move. I'm not arguing that we should continue the war, that we should ramp up, that we should put boots on the ground. But if 60% say, hey, we think they were cheating on the nuclear program to begin with, and we think they're going to restart it, having a deal that says, even if it has the nuclear component in there, I don't know that that's going to be it's not going to be a political win for Trump. It's a sacrifice. And I do think Halperin on two-way is spot on. I think we are getting closer and closer to, it may just be a desertion. And this would go down as the biggest political mistake in either of Trump's two presidencies. That, hey, we started this thing, we were not able to get to a finish line, and we're left in a spot in which we're saying, hey, Iranian people, we've crippled your leadership, you take over, hey, rest of the world, you open up the strait. I mean, that is going to be a massive black eye, and people dislike Trump for a lot of different things. Even the most ardent of Trump supporters, I think, would have to say that was a massive failure. That's his Afghanistan retreat moment.
Yeah.
Fewer people died, though.
Yeah.
More people die in Chicago on a weekend basis than have died on our side of the war.
I continue to think, I mean, we were joking about it in the office, but at some point when it seemed like this thing was going to wrap up pretty quickly, Ben sent out a Teams chat, I think, and was like, props to Andrew for calling this thing ending shortly. And then it's like, now I'm sitting here, it's like, well, it's not over, and I don't know how it ends. And the quickest way to that, and that's where Trump's his ass is in the jackpot, as they say, because
who says that?
the quickest way to end this is the worst political way. And if you said, gun to your head right now, Andrew, what do you think is going to happen? I think that may very likely be what ends up happening, is we just walk away from it. No deal. No more boots on the ground, but we're going to do that late. It's going to be in 2 months when, hey, I just cannot tolerate this with midterms literally around the corner. We're out.
I still think we should have done the blow up all the bridges, blow up all the power plants, blow up all the desalinization plants. That was the right move. We didn't do it because we're a merciful people, but that was the move. We should have just done the, sorry, time's up, we're blowing up all your infrastructure, and then deserted. And that would have been just fine, I think. And it would have been better than what's happened.
The U.S., the leverage dwindles every day that the U.S. has. And Iran knows that. 6 weeks ago, I would have laughed, and I did laugh at people who were like, Iran's winning this. Now it's like, yeah, they might. At least optically.
It's wild that they're winning hearts and minds, particularly among the people who dress up as Handmaid's Tale.
Let's jump to AI. Netflix up 2%, said it's going to use AI to help viewers manage content overload. I thought they were. how is this different?
Yeah, well, yeah. Where's their algorithm?
Yeah, I thought this was one of the reasons that people love Netflix. They said, well,
They recommend a show that turns out I'll like.
yeah, it's like it's not in the content, it's not in the deals that they've made. It's in the fact that they can do streaming well, and they're able to recommend another binge-worthy thing. I don't even know if it's worthy, but it's just like something that people do binge. And now they're saying they're going to use AI to do it. I mean, if they haven't been using AI already, they haven't been listening to Jensen Huang, who's been saying that the best use of AI is for recommender systems. He says that no one's using AI better than Meta because Meta's using it across its business, helping with the advertising, helping with recommender systems of things that you should buy or posts that you should view. So,
I mean, if that's the case, then short Netflix, short Spotify, long Meta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like Instagram ads continue to get more and more and more and more refined.
Man, I'm so dialed.
It's tough. Yeah, it's brutal. I would say you got to fight the beast that is the algorithm there.
I feel like there was a window, Tom, where you and I would get advertised the exact same thing. We both were like, that's pretty cool. We follow similar things. We engage with similar content. Now I feel like it's like, oh, I think this is awesome. And you're like, yeah, not quite.
Yeah.
Like it's gotten so dialed in where it's like, I like what's being shown to me more. And I'm the only one getting this.
Yeah. It's gotten so hyper specific. It's crazy.
I feel like there are 50 drop shippers out there that exist just for my own benefit.
And this is the path. This is the Harrison Pettigrew, who is leading a lot of the AI efforts internally. We'll talk about this. It's what's the next manifestation of AI in business, and that is customization at scale. Like hyper customization at massive scale. And that persists across businesses. I mean, it's going to come to our business as well. In the financial management business, it's going to be hyper customization at massive scale. And that's going to drive massive profits for companies like Meta.
We talked about this in our investment committee meeting on Tuesday. You can Google this, but it was an article from February 2012 talking about how there was a father who had sued Target because they had sent his teen daughter prenatal vitamin coupons and like a little like special flyer because it was like, congratulations on your pregnancy. And turns out she was pregnant. Turns out he didn't know, but that they had used her purchasing history through her Red card, the Target internal credit card, to track, her purchases, and were trying to incentivize her to come into the store. And the article reads like,
What an egregious crime.
This is creepy. You're being tracked like a common thief. You should start paying for everything in cash. You now look 14 years later. This is
normal.
Not only normal, but it's actually something that is a business strategy that, if you can refine most effectively, will lead you to be a winner. And people have been, there are certain segments of the society that have been completely intellectually captured by that and by constantly off of Instagram. And not only that, but they find status in that. So it's interesting to look at that dichotomy now, 14 years later, when at the time they were calling it big data, which is now AI. But it's just a whole thing where we've gone down this path. I don't know how it ends, but ultimately the companies are getting left behind. The Netflix, the Spotifys of the world, like they can't quite, because Spotify, if you just put on a song, it'll kick to another song that's similar. And I often find that I have no interest in that song. It's like, sure, they're similar artists, similar genres, but like, music especially is so hyper specific, and movies are that way too, where it's very difficult to find those nuances. But like, and
music's tough. I find myself, I don't enjoy a song. I enjoy an artist.
Yeah.
And in order to get me to like an artist, I've probably got to hear 3 or 4 songs. We're talking 12, 15, 18 minutes. And the hit rate is real low.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing with like the content stuff is hard. YouTube obviously has done a better job with it. And then, of course, Instagram, you get a zillion different hits on it, right? You're going through the reels. You might see 200 reels in a day if you get sucked in, and it knows how long you spent, which ones you looked at, which ones you sent to other people, and it can refine it so tightly. But Netflix doesn't have that. I don't go on Netflix and I'm not like, I'm going to send this to Ben, so it's an interesting, the nuances that are going to be very tough for some of these different companies to refine. And if they can use AI, then awesome. But it's so much. There's not enough data coming through on your end.
Well, and that's where it's going to be. I mean, we talk about AI creating new industries. I mean, for decades we've seen the marketing industry evolve from, oh, we're going to market this product, and then it's like, oh, we're going to market this based on, are you a man or are you a woman, and then we're going to market it based
That's
on
tough.
And then we're going to say, actually, I really want to target people like Tom, so we're going to market it to men age 30 to 49, and then you go with 2 kids. But then what the marketing industry has changed is that instead of just doing by demographics or income or
Now the marketer
assets,
says you need a mustache.
now
I mean, I get a lot of
it's moved
bald
to-
men products.
It's moved to occasion. So like now it's saying, okay, it's the morning, you need a coffee, we're going to hit you with a Starbucks ad, you go to this, you're in this location, we're going to target you based on that occasion, and so it has a cluster, and so you're segmented into a bunch of different segments based on your need. So some people need the caffeine, some people want a treat, and so it's like that's how they do it. But what it's going to be done is that it's actually going to be hyper specific to you and you alone, and this is exactly what you're talking about, Andrew. And I don't know if this is a better way. Would I rather have a marketing company or an agency or a company view me as in this bucket? Oh, therefore he thinks like everyone else in his bucket. Or would I rather them know so much about me and be able to predict all of my needs?
This might be a hot take.
That they hit me exactly then.
This is a hot take, and it might be half-baked, and I reserve the right to be very wrong, and this is way off topic. But I actually wonder if the hyper-specialized, the Ben Nye marketing, as opposed to the male in his mid-30s marketing, I actually wonder if that's not better for Ben Nye. In no small part because it does, to an extent, remove some of that lifestyle creep that comes from trying to keep up with the Joneses. If I'm getting advertised something that everyone my age, my demographic pool is getting advertised and they're all getting it, I'm more likely to get it. If I'm getting something, and as I just shared, and I'm like, Tom, have you seen this? And he's like, no. I might be really excited about that, but then I'm thinking, well, at least one person I know that would be demographically similar that used to get the same ads isn't interested in it. I might actually pause a little bit on it. But even if I buy that product, Tom's not getting hit with the ad for it. And he might be like, hey, do you like that? Whatever it is. And I might say yes, I might say no, but now he's making an informed decision. He's not just saying, well, Andrew got that and Sam got it and Ben got it and Hicks got 2 of them. I actually wonder if it's not, in a weird way, socially better.
I think you're right.
Except I think the opposite is true, and I think that the Stanley Cup is a primary example where that becomes a signal of suburban white.
That's what I'm
womanhood.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If everyone's getting hit with a Stanley Cup and everyone's getting them, everyone's going to buy them, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a cabinet full of them, and you're not going to know where the lids are.
And the straws are going to fall into the bottom of your dishwasher.
But if in lieu of a Stanley Cup turning into 10, my wife is hit with a specific ad that maybe has nothing to do with the cup that none of her friends and no one in her thing gets, maybe we're buying one thing.
Yeah.
That's the dream, right?
From your mouth to God's ears, you know?
We actually don't have that many Stanley Cups. I might offend some people, right, with this. We're really going off the deep end. If you're a man with a Stanley Cup, just don't.
Just don't, dude.
Just leave it at home.
I will say,
like, we get it. Your wife gave it to you. You don't have to use it.
I will say the one thing that I got that I thought was hyper specific to me, and I had pined for it, but not pulled the trigger on it, and really thought, man, this would really enhance my life. That ultimately Andrew ended up buying while I was on vacation or something. I was out of the office and I came back and he had one. Shout out to the Hunker and Stool.
The Hunker and Stool.
And I have one now, and it is the best. It's basically just 2 pieces of plywood on springs, but it allows non-flexible adult men like myself and Andrew and others to hunker, to perform a supported Asian squat and really work on your.
I did a buy one get one 50% off, and I left one at the office, and somebody's hunkering at all times. It seems like.
Yeah, it's the best. I love my hunkering stool, but it was one of those things where I was like, this is definitely something that only I would be interested in. And I came from out of town, and Andrew had two at the office, and I was like, damn.
We need a promo code.
Yeah, we should reach out.
Dude, hunkering stool, I would say.
Hicks, can you clip this and we'll send it to him?
Yeah, no free.
It would be awesome if the hunkering stool was our first advertising partner.
Yeah.
Broadcom down 14%, lowering their AI guidance for AI chips. Financially, the quarter was good, but AI drives it.
Yeah, the guidance was soft, and this was a big surprise given everything that's been going on, and they were primed to succeed in the networking space, and they're growing very rapidly. I mean, they're growing over 100%, but it wasn't enough. And importantly, previously they had said that they're in 2027 they're going to be significantly over $100 billion in revenue, and now they say so basically we say we continue to be in excess of $100 billion. But it is on the same trajectory as we are seeing in the back half of 26, which is not good. So stock's getting absolutely smashed.
I want to come back to economic stuff and get a run through. Ben, we've got some amplifications / clarifications on SpaceX. This story is so hot right now.
Yeah.
I got a text from a client who I never in a million years, and Hicks, I'll send it to you for compliance reasons, who I never in a million years would think this was on their radar, and they're like, I want some SpaceX.
I got a text from a client who I know it would be on their radar because this person is a very loyal and valued member of our community, our beautiful morning market briefing community, a super user. This person was very interested in SpaceX and what we had to say on the call yesterday. And so out of courtesy to this person and our other viewers and listeners, I did want to say we did mention that SpaceX is going to be incorporated in some of these indexes far sooner than anything else has been incorporated in these indexes before, and with a lot of the requirements waived, including profitability. But I will note that the way the S&P 500 does weightings, even if they come at a $2 trillion, or right now that's $1.75 trillion valuation, it would be the sixth or seventh largest company in the S&P 500, but it won't be effectively because that is not the number of shares that will be freely traded or floating in the market. So instead of being a 2% or 3% or 4% position in the S&P 500, it's going to be 0.12%.
All right.
Nice.
So it's not going to have the same impact on everything else that it could have.
That it's overall valuation.
Will the float expand as the lockup?
Yes.
So the way the lockup works, and I don't know if I've disclosed why I've done so much research on this or not, but Q2 earnings, immediately 20% of shareholders prior to IPO will be able to sell shares. If the price is over 30% from the IPO price, that instantly jumps to 30%. Then there's a 7% waterfall pretty much every month until November, and then in December, 6 months, then the remaining either 55 or 45 or 35% will unlock. So it's not like they can't sell any for a full 6 months, but even in the best case scenario, 45% of previous to the IPO shareholders will be locked up until December. So it'll be a ramp up over a 6 month period at roughly 7%, starting with either 20 or 30%, depending on the price. So if people were curious.
Ben, we got a ton going on economically. We've got a war going on. I guess in that realm, it's certainly having an impact. We've got the 250th anniversary. We've got some positive economic data, but before you get to it, I'd like to know a reading on the Ben Nye America's Back Index.
It's 7.
Ooh.
I want to be at a 10. I really want to be at a 10, but we've got to get these the oil flowing again, and we've got to get the Hormuz Strait opened up, and we've just got to move forward with this. It's been too long, and I'm concerned that time under pressure will ultimately create issues. I think that yields going below 450 on the 10-year is positive for the economy. As soon as we went above 450, things started to slow just a little bit, and then we came back below. But the economic data just continues to be resilient and robust, driven by data center build-outs, consumer strength. We saw the ISM manufacturing on Monday. Yesterday, we got the ISM services index. The headline was very strong. The new orders just absolutely ripped from 53.5 to 57.3. The street wasn't even thinking about an improvement. Employment remains soft. Prices did go up very slightly, but less than expected. So all pretty good on that front. The one negative area was on the healthcare spending. The ACA dropout rate is quite high right now, which makes it tough for hospitals. But Costco just posted its best comparable store sales, and that excludes fuel and foreign exchange, because obviously fuel prices up 40% year over year right now. Just posted its best comp since February 2025. So really good news there. They're seeing broad-based growth across the business, lots of traffic, lots of people coming into the store. And then Fastenal, which is a harbinger of the industrial economy, continues to see very significant moves higher in demand on its manufacturing side and non-residential construction side, even with the rates where they are and fuel prices where they are. So everything is really pointing in the right direction right now.
4 months in a row for Fastenal in which they've outperformed what's expected.
Yep. And so this is something that, continues to defy logic, but, our role is not to argue with the numbers. Our role is to see if these numbers are persistent and what could change them or what could keep them going. And right now, it's an object in motion is going to stay in motion, and hope that the friction of high interest rates and fuel prices don't slow the car down too much.
Good stuff. All right. We'll wrap it up there. Long call. Appreciate y'all sticking with us. We'll be back tomorrow. Hope you have a great day. Talk to you soon.